Hello, all my favorite grandkids. Today we are going to read a book that Lizzie loves called Fancy Nancy. And it is by Jane O'Connor. I love being fancy. Look how fancy her room is. Wow. There's ribbons and bows on everything. And lights and tiaras and flowers. And my favorite color is fuchsia. That's a fancy way of saying purple. I like to write my name with a pen that has a plume. That's a fancy way of saying feather. And I can't wait to learn French because everything in French sounds fancy. Do you see her? Look at, there's her pen, and it has a feather on the end that she calls a plume. Nobody in my family is fancy at all. They never even ask for sprinkles. See, here's her family, and they go to get ice cream. Do you see her daddy and her mommy and her little sister? And look at, they're all just wearing regular clothes, and look at how she's dressed. Very fancy. And she got sprinkles on her ice cream. Do you like sprinkles on your ice cream? There's a lot they don't understand. Lace-trimmed socks do help me to play soccer better. Sandwiches definitely taste better when you stick in frilly toothpicks. So here they are playing soccer. And look at, she has her little lacy socks to play soccer. And she has a sandwich she made for her dad, and she put little special toothpicks in there for him. Look at her skirt. She has very fancy ribbons on her skirt and in her hair. A princess is supposed to keep her tiara on. Can you see how she's playing dress up with her sister? And her sister doesn't look very happy about having to keep her tiara on. Tiara is another word for crown. What's a fancy girl to do? I ask my doll, Maribel. Her full name is Maribel Lavinia Chandelier. Ooh, that is quite a name for a doll, isn't it? Look at, even her doll is very fancy. Then I get an idea that is stupendous. That's a fancy word for great. Where do you think they are right now? Do you see this right here? See, there's Nancy's mom and sister. Here's Fancy Nancy. Does it look like they're at the grocery store? I think so. And she's looking here and she gets an idea. Hmm. Maybe I can teach my family how to be fancy. I make an ad and I put it on the fridge. Do you see this? It says, learn to be fancy with lessons from Nancy. Start today, easy, fun, and free. Maybe I can teach my family how to be fancy. I make an ad and stick it on the fridge. Oh, so look at this. Her whole family. Oh, here she is. She's showing her family ways to be fancy. On here, she has a line of a list of things that are plain and a list of things that are fancy. So plain is yellow. The fancy word would be gold. Plain here is leather. The fancy version would be patent leather, which is like shiny. The plain is glasses. The fancy version is sunglasses. Do you see? And here's her family. They're all listening and taking notes about how to be fancy. And here's all the different things, the plain version and the fancy version, like a plain hat and a very fancy hat. Soon there is a knock on my door. My family saw the ad and they want to get started right away. The trouble is, my family doesn't own any fancy clothes. You see? Hmm, that's okay. I go find, what is that fancy word? Oh, yes, some accessories. Look at all of these fancy things that she's bringing. Ribbons and bows and lights and feathers and all kinds of things for them to wear. Ooh la la, my family is posh. That's a fancy word for fancy. My mom twirls in front of the mirror. Why don't we go somewhere fancy tonight? Look at how fancy her mom and sister look. Look, she's got a feather in her hair and looks like a tutu on her head and a fancy skirt and purse. And wow, and look at her sister and look at her dad, all dressed up. How about dinner at the King's Crown? Dad suggests. Wow, my parents are acting fancier already. May I escort you lovely ladies outside? Limousine is waiting. My dad is our chauffeur. That is a fancy way of saying driver. Oh, look at that. Look how fancy they look. They are all going to go to dinner at the King's Crown. The cover is coming off of this book. When we arrive at the King's Crown, everyone looks up. They probably think we're movie stars. What do you think? Do they look like movie stars to you? They do look like movie stars. Look how fancy they are. I am so proud of my whole family. They eat with their pinkies up and call each other darling. Do you see what they're having for dinner? Can you see that? They're having pizza. For dessert, let's have parfaits, my mom says. That's French for ice cream sundaes. Amazing. My mother knows French. When our parfaits are ready, I curtsy and say, merci. Do you know what merci means? That's French for thank you. Look, she's saying thank you. Uh-oh, do you see something wrong? Look at her shoe. I think it came untied. I hope she's careful. I carry the tray like a fancy waiter. Oops, I trip. I slip. Uh-oh, look. She's tripping on her shoelace that came untied. What do you think's gonna happen? The tray does a double flip. Oh no. Oh no. I don't feel fancy anymore. Look. Oh no, she fell down. The ice cream parfaits got all over her and all over the floor. Oh no, I bet Fancy Nancy feels really sad. How would you feel? She said, I want to go home. Look at her. She's so sad. I think she's embarrassed. She doesn't want people to see her looking like that, huh? Her parents are helping her. They're being very nice. After I get all cleaned up, I put on my dressing gown. Those are fancy words for bathrobe. I feel much better. I'm ready for a parfait. I tell my parents, thank you for being fancy tonight. Her parents were very nice, weren't they? I love you, my dad says. I love you, my mom says. And all I say back is I love you, because there isn't a fancy or better way of saying that. And that is the end of the story. Did you like Fancy Nancy? We'll have to look for some more Fancy Nancy books. I love you. Bye bye.